that we as a board have not heard anything about that affects the fringes of this thing. And I would be all for, and I have no problem whatsoever with opening equal time. I would like to spend a lot of time on this. I do not want to rush this through, so we can have as many speakers from any side that wants to speak as they wish to. We've been listening from the documents I see since many months now. Lots of commissioners have been receiving information. I received some very disturbing information that this commission, prior to my being elected, had had this issue in front of them for months prior to that too. And I'll show you the document when the time is right. But this issue's been in front of this board for a long time before the public was aware of it. So as much time as it takes for the public to get as much information about it.
Could you explain, because we're looking at each other quizzically,
there were
so could you explain that?
There were emails months before that never really surfaced, and coming from Florida Equality to the commission prior to the election even, that I've seen that showed up. So
do you remember getting any of those?
I'll provide them if needed. I don't have them with me, but I'll provide them. And the point of it is not that anybody's doing anything wrong. That's not what I'm saying. It's just it's been in front of you much longer than it's been in front of me, and I haven't had time to do all the in-depth stuff that I need to. And there is a very, very, very serious negative side to this ordinance. And if we don't look at that, if we're not doing our due diligence, if we don't see the negative effects of that and address them, and that's the thing. I am all for some ordinance that provides the protection that we're looking for. This one does it at a price. What price are we willing to pay to our community?
That's an interesting question, because to the city attorney, I understand there are a number of ordinances throughout the state of Florida, county, city level. Could you, and I assume you're talking about the lawsuits and different things like that, so could you...
New one every day. There's 2 new today. So.
Well, wait. I believe I have the floor. So have there been a lot of lawsuits in the state of Florida?
Sorry, my microphone is not working. Thank you. I haven't extensively looked towards the number of lawsuits in Florida. There are a number of cases that have occurred across the country. The memorandum that was provided to the commission earlier today details a number of different anecdotal cases, as well as some of the cases that have risen to federal levels and things that have been considered by the United States Supreme Court. But to answer your question directly, no, I haven't been aware of any of the local municipal human rights ordinances, the 14 that I referenced in my memorandum. I'm not aware of any lawsuits that have come from those ordinances.
And how long have they been in place?
I believe the one in Gulfport has been around
2005.
It was right around 10 years.
And I would just have to add to that
okay.
If I were a national organization with an agenda, I would do everything I could to limit the number of lawsuits until we got better footing in our efforts to do that. And I would try very hard to make sure that cases didn't get in front of the court. Many are still. One yesterday, a transgender individual was suing a fitness club because the fitness club wouldn't let him compete as a female, and they're partially transgender. And my case is, I don't want to get involved in that argument at all. How do we know what level? There's not DNA testing. There's medical stuff. Again, I think it's fantastic that we're looking at this, but I think it's a federal level issue. I don't think it's a city level issue. We don't have the resources, guys. Sorry, we don't have the resources to deal with those issues at this level. And if we enact this law as written, we are the responsible party, even though we're going to send it to a community service or a...
we don't have anything written.
Have you looked at the ordinance?
It puts the city manager first at making the decision if it even exists.
Wait, hold on. That is an ordinance that's already on the books, that has been on the books regarding, it's called the Human Relations Ordinance. We had nothing, that was not, all we're doing is we're amending that ordinance. That was already in place way before this issue ever came up. Okay, now that is something we can discuss in this workshop for sure, because I was surprised when I read what that procedure was, and it's dealing with fair housing. Bringing in the HRO in the we discussed it. I discussed it with the city attorney that it would probably be simpler to just amend what we already have on the books, which is the Human Relations Ordinance with regard to fair housing. If you look at that ordinance, none of that language has been changed, except to, I mean, 'cause everything he's added was all underlined, or it might have been struck if it had been repeated at an earlier section. Hold on. To get back to your first comment about, you haven't had time to look at this. We have a city attorney. He's provided a 224-page memorandum. We have been discussing this at least for a few months. I really do not know or recall during the election getting email. Well, although I wasn't running, so that's different. So maybe there were some other emails going around during that election, but I know that I was only approached a few months ago when I first brought this issue up before the commission, and you were seated commissioner at that time. I did not do this before the new commission came on, I don't think.
I'll provide that when I would bring it now, but I don't have it.
So anyway, the point is, this subject has been discussed, or has at least been out for discussion, and there have been typically no major objections from any of the commissioners to not go forward or with any of these questions or any of the issues that you're bringing up right now. And I'm kind of at a loss, because you've had these opportunities before now, and before we were at this point, to either have us address those issues, have the city attorney address those issues, or whatever. And you're saying that if you're a national organization and you're trying to get something passed, you're trying to subdue any kind of repercussions such as lawsuits. I submit. Liberty Counsel, I think, is a national organization. I mean, they're out there with trying to suppress this from being passed. So I don't really think that's really germane to this issue.
Let me speak to that real quick, if you don't mind, Ms. Mayor, because it's a really important piece that I didn't get to before we changed subjects. Is because of the negative connotation that the Liberty Counsel was given in several emails, I looked hard for somebody that wasn't directly a Liberty Counsel person, but an affiliate person that had done work for many organizations. And the attorney that's speaking this evening is affiliated with several and not just one, and will give a more broad picture and not represent that one kind of narrow view of it. It's more of a legal thing. And I do invite anyone with any opposition to that to speak to it. I think it would be crazy not to.
All right, well, let me ask you this. If the issues you think are so deep and so involved, then how is a 10 or 15 minute presentation going to address those issues? That, based on what we've already heard, based on everything that's been provided from both sides, based on the research that
I need to step in here, you guys. The point is, we're here to discuss, if we're going to do this ordinance, how should we word it so that your concerns are alleviated, yours, everyone's. So it's not who
that's
says
my
what.
point, exactly.
Well, the point is, let's deal with what we have in front of us, and specifically, what is any language